Campbell. Councilman Jones.
Here.
Councilman Williams.
Here.
Councilman Wallace.
Here.
This works. And we're back in from executive session. What's council's pleasure?
No action. No action.
Okay, no action taken from executive session. Item 1, discussion and possible action on the approval of city council meeting minutes dated February 11th, 2019.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Randall.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes dated February 11th, 2019.
It's been properly moved and seconded. The council approves city council meeting minutes dated February 11th, 2019. You've heard the motion. Ready for the question? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Item 3, discussion and possible action on an ordinance adapting the 2018 property maintenance code. Council has that, and the only intent, Council, correct me if I'm wrong, is to update the code that we're using from 2015 to 2018.
I move that we approve the financing by the,
Wrong one.
Item 3.
oh, sorry. I move that we approve the ordinance adopting the 2018 property maintenance code.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that council approve the ordinance adopting the 2018 property maintenance code. You've heard the motion. Ready for the questions?
Question.
Councilman Rowland.
In this document, this was just a legal update, and someone else's mic. It was just, in this update, was just the dates, or is this the updates? Has this been updated, taking in consideration our building, or not the building inspector, the ordinance person?
No, no, sir. This is simply the only thing that's currently the city has in place, the 2015 International Property Maintenance Code as the code that it follows. What this does is just update it. Now there's a 2018 code. So the only thing this does is change it from the 2015 code to the 2018 code. That's the only thing this does.
So that means, so if we're using 2018 code, that means citizens or whoever could receive a fine through the interpretation, they will be impacted. Is that correct? So meaning, so we have an ordinance person, and then any new thing that has been updated from 2015 to 2018. So there's a lot of things that can go into this, and so the question is, subsequent how we roll this out, meaning, there may be a lot more violations that will require being cited. So are we saying that is there gonna be, how we roll this out, are we gonna have time to give warnings, or versus someone saying, hey, we've now got 100 people in here with ordinance violations, whereas by adopting this, we just increase that more. So I guess, I don't know if this is a question to the...
I can answer part of it, and then I'll defer the rest to the mayor. I'm not an International Property Maintenance Code person, so I don't know what's in the code. I can tell you this, from my experience, very little actually ever changes from code to code. Sometimes something changes, but very often very little changes. So there could be, you are correct, there could be differences between the 2015 code and the 2018 code that puts individuals who may not have been in violation previously could be in violation now based on this new code. But I don't know, because I didn't, the International Property Maintenance Code is pretty thick, and I didn't review the whole thing. That said, I'll defer to the mayor as to what, if any, changes have occurred from 2015 to 2018, and the process on how staff plans on implementing the new code, because I don't know.
Councilman Jones, let you speak.
Councilman Brian Rowland brought up a valid point. So in going with what we first need to see, what changes, if any, were made before we make this recommendation, because we don't know how our citizens will be impacted, so that way we could, I guess, press them and give them enough time to be able to make these changes, rather than we just say that this will be our new code and the way we go about things, without abreasting them with the changes that how this will impact them.
Any other?
I think,
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Councilman Randall.
I think the changes, if you look through it, are highlighted or X'd out throughout the ordinance.
This is the ordinance, or is this the
There's an
2015?
exhibit A to the ordinance.
He said it is or is not
Yes, it's an exhibit to the ordinance.
to the ordinance, right? But this is what they can use, and you also talk about the process.
Well, one thing I want to point out to council is that, as Councilor Zeck said, every 2-3 years, each one, I mean, there's several that we follow, whether it's the building inspections and all sorts of things, but in general, it's just an update, and our residents are still required to receive a 10-day notice to correct, and if that's subsequently not done, to come in and the appeal process and go in front of the municipal court judge. So all those standard things are still in place. From what I've seen, and I can't say, again, I'm not an attorney and I didn't match it up word for word, which, as Councilor Zeck said, is extremely thick. It's basically the same as where we update so many other provisions where they're outdated. The International Building Code is huge, and we don't know the many changes that were done in that, but we're just following the most current information, because if people do go online to research, they're gonna go online and research the most current ones, and if ours is outdated, that's maybe a potentially bigger issue. But Councilman Randall?
I think as far as what Councilman Rose requested, I think if you remember back when we rolled out the ordinances about trash cans and abandoned cars, I think after we did that, you sent out documentation about the new ordinances and the changes, and I think that's correct. If you're gonna do the same thing, it's just to kind of communicate to the citizens about the changes that may or may affect
That's part of it.
And is there another part?
Well, the part of it that, again, in this ordinance, the ordinance says is fairly simple, where it just says we're just gonna update 2015 and 2018. The issue is Exhibit A, which are the strike changes of duties and responsibilities. And that may be a much larger concern, because we may want to make sure that, again, we're just communicating, what is the appeals process? We have a whole bunch of half a page of strike-throughs on the appeals process, and so we just want a clear document that we can communicate. And so I would ask that we move this to the next meeting.
And I'm not, I'm sorry. And I'm not sure, because we were not told that Exhibit A was even being
That's correct.
made a part of it or anything, and because all we did was a draft an ordinance based on the request of staff to update it, and so we didn't reference Exhibit A in this ordinance. So this ordinance doesn't adopt whatever this Exhibit A is. This is the first time I've seen this Exhibit A.
So what?
So all of this ordinance does is it says, Chapter 6 of the Health and Sanitation, Article 6100, Property Maintenance Code, is hereby repealed in their entirety replaced as follows.
So in
So
essence.
now, all you've done, if you look at 601, all you've done is, now I say all, because Councilman Rowland is correct. I am not a code enforcement officer. We did not go through the entire International Property Maintenance Code to determine what changes have occurred from 2015 to 2018. There are probably changes in there. I don't know what they are, we didn't go through it. All we did was draft the ordinance adopting the new code, which is what this ordinance does. That's all it does. I'm not sure what this
So
is.
where is
today.
exhibit? I guess Mr. Mayor, where's exhibit?
I don't know what exhibit
Well, it's just a part of it, but, Counselor, could we not adopt per what we have, because what we have is not inclusive of Exhibit A, so could
It's
we not?
actually, Exhibit A isn't even, you're not adopting the Exhibit A.
Okay, so if.
I don't know what Exhibit A is doing in here, but
Okay.
this ordinance does not adopt Exhibit A.
Okay, so we
It
can approve
repeals
this.
your current code, which has 2015, and adopts the new one, which is
So we're
2018.
just voting on this.
That's all you're voting on.
There's a motion on the floor already, correct?
Yes.
Call for the question.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed have the same right? Ayes have it. So in addressing Exhibit A, Council, we'll get back with you and let you take
Yes.
a look at that and let us know.
Yeah,
what
if this is something y'all want adopted, you need to let us know, and we'll need to get
Okay.
that ordinance.
So we'll put that off until you have an opportunity. Please, not in the audience, please.
So what do we use
In
in
session.
So if we had so I understand we have the 2015, we now going to 2018. What, this was kind of the scope of, whatever this was, are we currently using this? Are we using a variation?
This is actually, I'm assuming that Exhibit A is from the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code. This is Part 1 of a International Property Maintenance Code. Whether it's from 2015 or 2018, I couldn't tell you because I haven't seen it until just now. But this is Part 1 of the International Property Maintenance Code. So this is going to be in the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code. What I don't know, and I can't tell you, is are these changes that were made to the International Property, or are these local changes that are being made to the
It
International
looked like
Property
local
Maintenance
changes.
Code? That looks like local changes to me too, but I don't know.
Okay. So what we just adopted, which was my unreadiness.
Is the 2018 International Code as it currently exists and as I said earlier,
Generally.
generally. And I don't know what, if any, changes have been made from 2015 to 2018. I'm sorry, sir, I can't, I just don't know.
So if you'll take a look at that for us, and that way we can deal with it.
Mayor, I cannot look at the International Property.
No, I mean Exhibit A.
Okay,
Exhibit A.
okay, yeah.
And let us know if that's the old version, the new
And
version.
so
or-
who should we talk to, who made these changes? Who drafted this document?
Good question.
Okay, I'll find out.
But we'll find out and follow up on it.
Has the city
Item 4, discussion and possible action on a resolution of the City Council of the City of Prairie, Texas, establishing a policy and procedure for the payment and reimbursement of travel and training of City Council members. Councilwoman Williams.
Yes, this is just an extension from when I had Attorney Prairie. And I spoke to Mr. Zach about it. And so he drew up the resolution. And we were gonna talk about it at the last meeting, but then I asked that we wait until this meeting to give council and everyone an opportunity to read what Mr. Zach had written.
Okay, what's the will of council?
So, I guess my, Mr. Rand,
Yes, Councilman Randall.
how is this different than what we currently have in place? Do we not currently have anything in place, is my question.
I think originally when we were speaking with Attorney Kerwin, he had asked all the city council members to pick 2 or 3 places that you wanted to go. And he was gonna make the travel, do the travel statements, do the resolution for the travel for everyone, because there was, he said 5 of us. And I think some people turned in theirs. I think Mr. Rowland did, I didn't. I don't know who else may have turned theirs in to Mr. Kerwin, so when he left, he forwarded it to me, and then I in turn forwarded it to Mr. Zach to ask him to complete it.
And I think this is more general than the specific scenarios. From what I'm reading, it's just generally authorized, unauthorized, and defining categories and that sort of thing.
Right, because originally Mr. Kerwin wanted it to state how much funding or how much money each council person would get. And basically, he stated that the council actually only have like $10,000 to split among 5 people. But like I said, I forwarded it on to Mr. Zach.
So what all I did was create a resolution, and I assisted with the drafting of the policy, provided it to Councilmember Williams to see if it was something that she wanted to put in front of council. She agreed that it was. The way this works is that the resolution, you'll notice that there's some blank lines in the resolution. The first blank line in section 1 is how much money is in the current budget for each council member. Section 2 says, then that current budget shall be allocated in a specific amount. You just divide by, I guess, 5 or 6, depending on what y'all want to do, for each council member, so that each council member knows what their budget is. And then each council member would have their own specific amount that they're authorized to spend, and then what it can be spent on and how they get reimbursed would be done pursuant to the policy that's attached to the resolution.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Rowland.
I move that we keep our current, I move that we table the resolution of the City Council of Prairie, Texas, establish a policy procedure for the payment and reimbursement of travel and training of city council members, and keep our current policy that we currently have for city council.
Motion died for lack of a second.
Is there a way we can adopt one without the other?
Yes, there is. You just tell me how you want to do it, and I'll work you through it. Do
Okay.
you want to adopt the policy without the numbers, or the numbers without the policy?
So I guess my question is, the way our current budget is set up is, and it was something that we discussed during the budget cycle, but we didn't take any action on it, about the travel expenses for the council is in one pot. So it's not divvied up in the budget per council member.
This would do that.
This does that. The issue is, everything in the budget is general. The only thing in the budget that we're talking about specifically is city council travel, which makes no sense. That means street repairs and everything else in the budget is general. And the only thing that we're trying to focus on is city council travel, which means we'd itemize the budget, which means there'd be itemized 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 through the 5 of us. But for everything else, there's no budget. We even took the time to do that.
So, back to my previous question. This is the numbers and this is the policy?
Yes, sir.
And I guess
And this policy is different than the one that we have now, right?
Actually, right now, we don't have one. That's why this came up.
So then, yes, this would be different.
Yeah, it'd be different.
So if we wanted to adopt one without the other, what would that look like?
Well, if you just wanted to adopt the policy itself, you could actually do that without a resolution, and you could just make a motion to adopt it. That's a minute order, and it's just as binding as the resolution. If you wanted to just adopt the resolution without the policy attached to it. Looks like you could just adopt it as is, because we didn't include the Exhibit A yet, so you just adopt it as is. Yes, ma'am.
I guess my question is, what is the concern, or what is the issue?
I don't have, I was asked to draft this, I don't
I
have a
know,
concern.
but
or
I guess
issue.
I'm trying to figure out what is the concern, what is the issue, because like I said, this started with Mr. Curry. And like I said, he passed it on to me, and then I in turn contacted JJ and asked JJ, hey, how much money do we have? And he said, well, y'all actually have like 19,000, but because we're now get some money every month, we have 10,000, and then it's 10,000 split between 5 people. So,
I will say the concern, just to answer your question, is it's not necessarily a concern. The concern would have been to take the entire budget for the city of Prairie with all departments and itemize it just like you did for city council travel. That's the issue. The issue is the general fund, all the other line items you could have put on and itemized, which we don't have. We only spent the time to itemize city council travel. That's my unreadiness.
and I think the only reason we brought this up is not so much is itemizing, is we need to be accountable with the money that we spend. So therefore, if we go over budget because we're going here and going there, well, we're going all these places, but how do these places benefit the city of Prairie? What are we returning back to Prairie View doing when we travel all these places and we come and you come back? That was my thing, and everybody wants to be, you say you want to be transparent. Well, let's just be transparent with the money. If that's all we have to spend and somebody doesn't spend all of theirs and they want to give you some, then that's an option. But just to go to say you're going and have your name on a program or have your name on a flyer isn't benefiting the city of Prairie View. So it was no harm or malice intended, but the thing is transparency. And everybody sits up here and say this all the time. So then let's be transparent about where you spending the taxpayers' money. Where are you going? How is it benefiting us? How is it benefiting the citizens of Prairie View? I think that's only fair.
Councilman Jones.
My question is, does this, provide, if we approve this, does it provide that opportunity, as he said, that one council member say that, he, went to conferences, and I'm assuming about $2,000 is about what each one of us would get, and say that, you know, for his conferences, the cost was a little bit higher, but one council member, for that year doesn't choose to go anywhere. Does it allow that opportunity for another council member, for it to be brought back to council and for a council member to vote and approve?
You could always bring another resolution forward to reallocate funds to another council member if they choose. This doesn't say you can do that, but you could always do
All right,
that.
so may I make a motion and add that, we add that to this resolution?
Of course, yes.
Okay, Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Jones.
I move that we, what's my thing? Which, does this resolution have a certain name or?
It'll be given a number after. So resolution allocating individual budgets for
Okay.
travel and planning.
I move that we approve the resolution of the City Council of the City of Prairie View, Texas, allocating individual budgets for travel and training of city council members with the extra, with providing the opportunity for other council members to bring back in front of council if they reach maximum.
This, how about we add section 3? This resolution may be brought back to the city council for amendment and reallocation of funds between council members. How's that?
That was great, thank you.
So is that your motion?
Yes, that'd be my
Okay.
motion.
Second.
Council, that was reallocation of funds. What was the last part?
It'll add section 3. This resolution may be brought back to city council for amendment and reallocation of funds between council members.
Okay, now that's just item 3.
Right, so
So this is a long motion.
once, that's, the motion on the table, if it gets seconded, is just for this amendment. to the
Okay, so it's
resolution.
just an
That's it.
amendment to the motion.
That's it.
Okay. You've heard the motion and the amendment.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right?
And
Ayes have it.
then the next thing I would suggest is we go ahead, if you want to adopt this policy, we also go ahead and amend the resolution to include the adoption of Exhibit A. If you want to adopt the policy.
I think we'll ask for the policy to be brought back. I
Okay,
don't know.
very good.
Many
So
council members have to.
what we just voted on was just the amendment, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. So we need to vote for before number 3, the motion.
Right, I was only making a point that if you want to adopt this policy, someone should make a motion to include it in the resolution. If you don't, then you don't need to do that.
So as, right now, we haven't voted on the resolution or the policy.
No, you have not, no, sir.
All right, so I've read it before we go. So, my only, so you asked about what our readiness was for company. My only readiness is that, you know, we're talking about the finances, but we don't have the money in front of us, and we're talking about reallocating money and changing the budget, but none of us have talked about or looked at the budget as far as what we had. I mean, we're throwing numbers out there, but who knows?
Okay, can I make a suggestion?
Please.
So I'm definitely okay with the policy.
No,
but I
no,
think-
on your policy, take the numbers out, simply, if you want to focus in on travel, and I think I hear y'all are focusing in on travel, am I correct? Then what you do with travel should be, it's 5 of y'all, 20%. You don't need numbers. Travel will be 20% per council member. Then y'all added the additional language there, that if a council member doesn't use his 20%, then another council member can use those funds. One council, 4 of y'all might not go anywhere. I mean, I'm just saying,
Right.
maybe, just do it that way. That way it can stay in place.
Right, that
You
was
don't need to
my
put
readiness,
numbers
is
to it.
we're throwing figures out there.
Right, you don't need to
but
put
not-
numbers
but
to
no,
it.
Whatever it is.
If we're gonna make
Yeah,
changes
right,
like
just-
that, we
just
should be
say-
doing it with the budget. in front
Right,
of us.
just say 20%,
That's what my-
5 of y'all, then add the other caveat that if one doesn't use it, then it can be shared by another council member.
So I guess my next question, Mr. Mayor, would
Councilman.
be, we're, 4 months into the budget
Mhm.
cycle? So are we going 20% from today, or, because I know their council people have already taken trips, and I've already made expenditures out of this whole pot, so are we going 20% from today, or from what we originally allocated per council member?
That's y'all.
Counselor, and I think you said we could adopt the policy without getting into the numbers.
Yes, you could.
Okay, because the policy has a statement, authorized, unauthorized expenses, and it says some things on travel, lodging, and meals in breaking each down, and the expense report that's required. So the expense report we tend to be doing already, so is there any reason that, well, I move that the council adopt the travel policy without the numbers.
Well, like I was saying, I don't have an issue.
Hold on, there's a motion on the
You
floor.
can't put a motion.
Yes, I can. Read Robert's Rules of Order, please.
Executive,
The mayor doesn't have the right to vote, so I don't,
Not to vote, but I can put a motion on the floor.
right.
Y'all haven't read Robert?
Well, but Robert's Rules of Order is not applicable to your charter. And
Well,
so it
yes,
doesn't-
yes,
but-
it is in that the city adopted Robert's Rules of Order like almost every national organization and
Right, but
city
it
and
doesn't
state.
trump your charter.
Well, the charter doesn't cover motions,
But
so it can't trump it.
But the only people who have the right to vote are the council members themselves.
Right, but this is
Except-
not a vote, it's a motion.
If they
It's a
vote on the
motion.
motion.
You make a motion, you don't have to vote. He can make a motion and still not vote.
You know, actually, I don't know the answer to the question. All I know is that under
Okay,
your
what's-
charter, under your charter, normally only people who have right to vote, right to make a motion are those who have a right to vote.
But when you say normal, it's not specified in the charter, so. And our charter incorporated the city
And I am not a
ordinances.
parliamentarian, so I can't.
I have been.
And I can't, but
Yeah,
I can't, so I don't know what Robert's rule says about people who don't have the right to vote in making motions.
yeah,
So I don't know the answer to that.
that's okay, we'll skip it. What's council's pleasure? On the travel policy, what do you wanna do? I'll work with you. You wanna do anything? I mean, come on, council.
Do we have to let your, motion die?
No, it wasn't seconded, so
But that solves that.
that's Robert's rules too. What's council's pleasure?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Randall?
I move that we approve Exhibit A to the resolution,
Travel policy.
for the travel, Prairie City Council expense reimbursement policy.
All right.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that council approve Exhibit A to the resolution Prairie View City Council expense reimbursement policy. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
I'd like to amend my motion with the caveat to revisit the resolution when
About the numbers.
when we do the budget, we'll revisit the resolution. The other resolution.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Okay.
So this says, I guess my unreadiness is, it says that on number 3, it says city council members should only be, well, no. Says we have to get once it's adopted and we have it budgeted, we still then need approval on number 3, under policy statement. Policy statement on the first page, the 3rd paragraph. Is that what we just approved, or is this something different?
Yes, policy statement C, the 3rd paragraph in policy statement number 1. The 3rd paragraph says, council members shall only be entitled to reimbursement under this policy up to the previously approved budget amount for each council member unless otherwise approved by council, which means that this will be coming back, I think is what you asked, right, for the numbers, and so that would be applicable at that point.
Right. At this point, it's not applicable because we haven't established that amount.
Any other readiness?
My readiness would be, we've got numbers from JJ, why won't we just roll it, say, at the start of the new budget, because